Cosmic Family consists of Anne Rogers, who came up with the idea and was the main researcher for the film, and Karina Rubin, who was the producer, and she did the fundraising and looked after us throughout the whole project. Craig and Damon Foster, who were the filmmakers, and myself, of course.
I grew up in a remote corner of South Africa. We had no running water, no electricity, but every night my grandfather told us stories about the magic of Africa. There was a girl who threw a handful of ash into the sky and created the Milky Way. I borrowed a set of lenses from my school. I was building my first telescope. Today, I'm an astrophysicist. I begin to plan the greatest adventure of my life, a journey across the length of Africa, a journey to search for people who are still connected to the sky.
The films that we make, our initial audience is a theatre-going audience. It's really for the large screen.
The idea actually came to me several years ago. I came across incredible stories about the sky. I contacted Karina Rubin, and she just loved the idea. And the two of us then sat down with a sort of basic sort of concept, and from then onwards we just really put our whole heart and passion into it.
What that translated into was approximately a year of pre-production. Within that time, we include a reconnaissance where myself and Anne traveled to quite a few countries in Africa.
Our journey literally stretched from Cape right up to Cairo.
The year 2000, Kent Gibson and I founded Cosmo Studios. And the idea was to keep the flame that Carl Sagan had lit for us all alive, to do movies and television, all forms of entertainment that would not only appeal to the mind, to the intellect, but would also have that kind of soaring spiritual uplift.
You know, I'm most excited about Cosmic Africa of all the things we've attempted to sponsor, because it's the most unusual, and in the end it's the most moving.
And Cosmic Africa is not only Tebe Madupe's journey of exploration from boyhood and his commitment to his dream and his actual ability to realize his dream, but also his journey through Africa, across Africa and across time. He's an astrophysicist, and he's gone to gather the earlier cosmologies of our ancestors, and he, because of the kind of person he is and the nature of the project, he recognizes that continuity.
It is profoundly beautiful. The people who made it are very in touch with nature. It feels like, even if you're looking at a mundane subject like sand or trees or rocks or desert, that for some reason the pictures come out being alluring and interesting and moving.
I really think that Craig and Damon are magicians.
Africa is just by far the most exciting place for us on Earth. And still got such an energy, such a vibrance. The people are so incredible.
We're working with two cameras, so we have perhaps 6 or 8 people working with us, and then we work with a lot of local people in each location. But it's a specialist but multitasking crew. So we've got people who are camera assistants who may do sound, and who are expert in rigging, who can get us up to places we normally wouldn't be able to get to, and we all sort of share everything.
You know, they've got incredible support, and guys have been through very harsh conditions before,
And who enjoy being out there. They really enjoy it.
So, yeah, we had about a half a ton of equipment. You need to bring whatever it is that you know that you're going to use. I mean, you're in places that have nothing. It's not a matter of going, oh, we need another C-stand or whatever. You're not going to get it. At the same time, you also learn to make do without a lot of the things.
A lot of the skies you see in the film are real skies. They're shot on 35mm time-lapse cameras. Some of the other shots are high-definition tape shots.
But I think, you know, the 99.9% of the film shot on high definition, which is a digital format designed to work in the cinema realm. I think we've just, on this film, we couldn't have made it if we had shot it on another format.
And we've just had the transfer house in New York, who are doing the transfer from HD to 35mm, saying, what cameras did you use? What lenses did you use? This is the best HD to 35mm transfer we've ever seen, and they've done a lot of feature films, a lot of other films. So that was pretty exciting for us, that even though we had older generation equipment, it's still producing an image, and that's a lot to do with obviously the editing. We were very careful with all the grading. So somehow we managed to still create something that seems to be cutting edge. We might have 5 stages of shooting and editing, so the whole film grows organically, as opposed to the classic scenario where you write the script of some sort, shoot, edit, and then sound. It doesn't work like that at all. It's kind of totally integrated process. In the trance dance in Namibia, Kartemi had said that it's like climbing on a thread into the sky. It's similar to a spider's web, and that's how he climbs when he's in trance.
There was one thing that the brothers really needed was a spider web, and I thought, cool, we'll go to one of those shops and get that cotton woolly stuff, and that will be awesome. It had to be a real spider web.
So she had to get someone to build this frame and to coax a spider to build a web within the frame, and then transport this frame to us in the studio.
So my production manager at that time sort of rang around and said, no, she found the guy, and we're going to build a frame and we're going to spin the spider web. So we called the spider Charlotte, and she spun her thing.
And we in fact wanted to get the reflection of the moon in water drops running along the spider's web, because he also talked about going to a bright place which is similar to the moon. And we got some magnificent shots of that, but it was decided in the final edit that it was just actually wasn't necessary, that his words were powerful enough, we didn't have to put that imagery in. So all that trouble and fun was a waste of time.
Often that happens in film. You have to try something to realize it'll work or not work, and out of that maybe doesn't come the shot that you were planning, but something else that's even better. So there's an experimental part of filming and making films. We shoot together, we edit together.
It's so much more fun because you're always vibing off the other person, and the whole process is just 10 times more fun, and we get, I think, a product that's so much better than if either one of us had to make a film. It's a huge collaborative effort to bring the soundtrack together.
Once we've got a scene that is roughly works, we'll work with Barry Donnelly, the composer, and we also worked with Grant McCucklin, who's a classical composer, to work in some of the classical elements which creates that sort of epic and big feel. So it's a combination of the African music and the classical music.
And also, it was the first for us working with a whole orchestra, so it was pretty exciting.
there are about 46 microphones that are fed back to a sound studio, basically, and the sound gets recorded onto computers, and then it has to be mixed. So we spend about 2 or 3 weeks mixing what we're recording and getting the perfect mix, and then the voices get recorded onto the film, and that gets mixed again, and then it gets basically encoded, so that when you're in the cinema, the sound will go around, be a 5.1 surround sound, and that gets mixed onto the picture, and then it gets basically shown in the cinema.
I feel, to a large extent, our producer, Karina, has just been so organized and so clear, so it's allowed us such a creative freedom.
I would say the largest and biggest challenge for me on the making of Cosmic Africa is undoubtedly communication. Communication across the board. Cosmic Africa is a co-production. There are many partners. We've got people who've invested in the film based in Europe, in South Africa, and our main partners, Cosmos Studios in the United States. So you've got time differences, differences in just, yeah, you know, what's important, and in production it changes by the second. So there's communication on that level, and then communication on the field. You've got different languages, different customs. You're communicating with a film crew who've got their needs. You're communicating with your facilitators and translators who've got their needs, and you're trying to balance the two. You're trying to translate the creative vision. You're there to make it happen. And, you know, the director would like to go ahead and get a particular scene at a particular time. I mean, the sun sets and rises at a very fixed time every day. So to get that beauty shot, and as is custom, you don't just go in with your machine guns blazing. There's a lot of negotiation, there's a lot of discussion.
Nothing could prepare us for the power of Mali.
Yeah.
No amount of research, no watching films. The power of that place.
Every few years, people come from all the villages to dance the dead into the afterworld. This is the Dama.
Amazingly, the setups that you think are going to be impossible. For example, the Dama ceremony in Mali, that involved something like 1,000 people brought in from all the villages all over the place. It's a ceremony that happens every few years, and you know, I thought, okay, we've got a schedule at the anointed hour. You know, 1,000 people are going to come down from the cliffs and, you know, do their thing with these masks. And we arrived, and you know, it happened. You know, it was just, we were just blown out. It went on for 3 days, and this ceremony happened.
There were these sort of columns of people with these masks, which are they're the tallest in the world. These huge carved wooden masks, and the music and everything's just frenetic. It's just suddenly, it's like, you know, it's like a James Bond movie set gone wrong, but 2,000 years ago with, you know, I don't know, half a dozen other things thrown into it. And you literally charging through people, and there's guns going off, you've lost touch with your sound crew, and everything's just chaos.
I did dance, and I'm very glad that it was taken out of the film. I'm very poor. I'm a very poor dancer. Very terrible.
Another little simple ceremony which I thought was, you know, the painting of the Hogan's temple in Mali as well. You know, we'd go up, but every time it just was not the auspicious time. So that became incredibly frustrating. I think Craig in particular, he'd had about as enough as he was going to ever have.
I remember climbing the same huge mountain 5 times, and every time being told, sorry, no, it's not actually happening, it's going to happen tomorrow. Come again, not happening. And that was absolutely exhausting for us.
You know, there's just a point where you just said, okay, we're not going to get it. And I think Craig at that time just said, it's not going to happen. But, you know, if you watch the film, it is there, you know, and it doesn't look like any major thing. There's a couple of people painting a temple. It's a lot more complex. Also, some of the factors, for example, heat. If you're working and sleeping and living in an average of 49 degrees Celsius, it does something to your brain.
This is me at the top of the village, looking a bit pale.
I felt stronger, that's for sure.
And she's dying of thirst.
We're having a lot of problems. We're being told not to go there by the people in that village. And I was getting very bored and very depressed actually, maybe from the heat and things like that. And then Craig and them managed to get one of the local boys to show them, I mean, there are burial places up there. And I was asked whether I wanted to go. And I went up and I saw that scary looking ladder, you know, those homemade ladders of the Dogon. And I thought, no, I can't go up there. Even though I was a bit scared because I'm not a climber and it looked very scary. I mean, the rocks are very smooth, so it's very difficult to hold on to the rocks. But then I just decided, no, I'll go up. And I did, and I'm very proud and happy that I did. But climbing every morning in that temperature, 48 degrees, was really, it took a lot of time to get used to.
To me, the worst time, in a way, was in the Sahara, on the border of Sudan and Egypt, when it was just raining dust for 3 days. And it was the beginning of the shoot, and they were just lying in this tent, and this dust was just coming straight through, and just covering me in dust, covering all the equipment, covering all the tapes. And this wind had been blowing, and it can blow for weeks, and it just drives you crazy.
I don't know if you can see anything out the window here, but this is referred to as a small sandstorm. I'd hate to see a big sandstorm. That's the view from our window.
It was hugely debilitating working in these temperatures, and with these winds coming off Sahara, and we'd be coughing blood every day and for months afterwards from the sand getting into our lungs, and you'd be getting dehydrated the whole time and fainting, that kind of thing.
I really remember walking off the plane, and you know when you walk off the plane on the tarmac and you go past the jet, the wind from the machine, from the jet engine, often it's very hot and warm. And I walked off and I thought I was in the jet, and when I hit the jet it was actually colder. We had these sheets of like our sheets were put in buckets of water and sort of draped over us to try and keep cool. But it was really...
You never sleep for more than 45 minutes at a time because you just overheat. But the amazing thing was that the place was so powerful, the people were so incredible, that it sort of buoyed us all up. We were able to actually really enjoy it and keep going.
When you get into situations where there's possible drought or conditions are not great, people pay more attention to the sky. But the most remarkable thing was to live under the natural rhythm of the cosmos and experience it with the people.
The experience of being with them is probably the most powerful thing of the whole trip. Of course, then trying to look in terms of this film, trying to see what they're seeing, and suddenly your whole mind opens up to the universe in a way, because they don't separate so much their lives on Earth from what's happening in the cosmos. So it forces you to almost do the same thing. I'm far more aware now of the sky and of our almost position on Earth.
I was in a very unique position. to go to all these really amazing places. I mean, personally, the most amazing thing was the fact that I was able to interact with all these experts. I mean, the geologists, the anthropologists, archaeologists, in fields of science which I otherwise would have not been able to interact with. And so my knowledge of my continent has grown tremendously. And, you know, I can talk with authority when I talk to people about these things, you know, because of the film. So it has contributed a lot to my academic growth, and also has instilled pride within me about my continent. So it really has been a special journey for me.
I think Tebby himself highlighted a lot of things for us. We don't see ourselves as scientists or particularly scientifically minded. But he was always trying to look at things from a scientific point of view. And then we had these spiritual leaders, shamans, looking at it from their point of view. And then us as filmmakers, we would think we are somewhere in the middle, but that was not true. We were almost identical in our viewpoint to Tebby, and we had to realize that almost all Western people who've undergone Western education look at the world through the window of science.
Africa has so much to offer, and I feel that you could go on and on and on, exploring aspects about the sky and earth. It'll take several lifetimes, and I just hope that some of this knowledge remains with the people, this reverence for the sky and the earth.
When we first showed it, it was very powerful. It hit me actually. And towards the end, you know, I normally don't cry, but towards the end, I could feel the tears on my ears and on my eyes, sorry, tears on my eyes. And it was just, yeah, I mean, it's very powerful. It's really, and for me, the most moving part actually was the last part of the film about the kids, me and the kids, and I found that very moving.
To all get on is such a critical part of it, and we're so fortunate to work with people who we have a really good time with.
We knew each other very, very well. So we spend a lot of time having good laughs and playing childish games and things like that. I like that a lot.
Even Mandela can dance better than
I've been doing this for 2 weeks now to try pay for this film.
This is how you do it.